Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The syringe trembled slightly in Adrian's hand as he carefully drew up the prescribed dose of estradiol. He glanced at his mother, Felicity, who sat perched on the edge of the bed, her eyes closed and lips pursed in concentration. The late afternoon sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room. "You ready, Mom?" Adrian asked, softly, tapping the syringe to remove any air bubbles. Felicity's eyes fluttered open, a mix of anticipation and nervousness reflected in her gaze. She nodded, rolling up the sleeve of her floral blouse to expose her upper arm. "As ready as I'll ever be, sweetie." Adrian couldn't help but marvel at the changes he'd witnessed in his mother over the past few months. The hormone replacement therapy had already begun to soften her features, giving her face a more feminine contour. Her once short hair now fell in soft waves past her shoulders, framing her face beautifully. With practiced ease, Adrian swabbed the injection site with an alcohol wipe. "Deep breath," he instructed gently. As Felicity inhaled, he smoothly inserted the needle and depressed the plunger, administering the hormone that was helping his mother become her true self. "All done," Adrian announced, withdrawing the needle and pressing a cotton ball to the site. "You did great, Mom." Felicity's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she looked up at her son. "Thank you, Adrian. I don't know what I'd do without you." Adrian smiled, disposing of the used syringe in the sharps container. "That's what family's for, right? We've got each other's backs." As he tidied up the medical supplies, Adrian reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. It had been just over a year since his father, then known as Fred, had sat him down for a life-changing conversation. "Adrian," Fred had said, voice quavering, "there's something I need to tell you. Something I've known deep down for a long time, but was too afraid to admit, even to myself." Adrian had listened, stunned but supportive, as his father explained feelings of gender dysphoria that had plagued him for decades. Fred spoke of a lifelong struggle with identity, of feeling trapped in a body that didn't match the person inside. "I'm transgender, Adrian," Fred had finally said, tears streaming down his face. "I'm a woman, and I can't keep living a lie anymore." In that moment, Adrian had made a choice to stand by his parent, to offer unwavering support as Fred began the journey to become Felicity. It hadn't always been easy. There were awkward moments, misunderstandings, and the occasional slip-up with pronouns, but with each passing day, their bond grew stronger. Now, as Adrian helped Felicity to her feet, he saw not just his mother, but a woman finally at peace with herself. "So," Adrian said, a mischievous glint in his eye, "ready for our shopping trip? I hear there's a sale at Nordstrom." Felicity's face lit up. "Oh, you know me too well. Just let me touch up my makeup, and we'll head out." As Felicity disappeared into the bathroom, Adrian's phone buzzed with a text from his girlfriend, Nora. "How'd it go with your mom's injection? Still on for dinner tonight?" Adrian typed back quickly. "All good. About to take Mom shopping. Dinner at 7 still works. Can't wait to see you." He pocketed his phone just as Felicity emerged, her makeup refreshed and a spring in her step. "Ready to go, sweetie?" Adrian grabbed the car keys. "Lead the way, Mom. Your chariot awaits." The drive to the mall was filled with easy conversation and laughter. Adrian couldn't help but notice how much more relaxed and animated Felicity had become since beginning her transition. Gone was the quiet, withdrawn person he'd known for most of his life. In her place was a vibrant, joyful woman who seemed to embrace each day with newfound enthusiasm. As they pulled into the parking lot, Felicity's excitement was palpable. "Oh, I hope they have those cute summer dresses in stock, and maybe some new shoes to match." Adrian chuckled. "Mom, your shoe collection is already rivaling Imelda Marco's, but who am I to stand in the way of fashion?" They made their way through the bustling mall, Felicity's confidence growing with each step. Adrian noticed a few curious glances from passers-by, but for the most part, people seemed too absorbed in their own shopping to pay them much mind. In Nordstrom, Felicity was in her element, flitting from rack to rack with the enthusiasm of a child in a candy store. Adrian trailed behind, offering opinions and support as needed. "What do you think of this one?" Felicity held up a navy blue wrap dress with white polka dots. Adrian nodded approvingly. "It's very you, Mom. Classy but fun. Why don't you try it on?" As Felicity disappeared into the fitting room, Adrian settled onto a nearby bench, keeping an eye on the pile of clothes they'd accumulated. He couldn't help but overhear a conversation between two women browsing nearby. "Did you see that?" one woman whispered to her friend. "That man in women's clothes. It's just not right." Adrian felt his jaw clench, a surge of protective anger rising in his chest. He was about to say something when the friend responded, "Oh, hush, Margaret. It's the 21st century. People should be free to be who they are. Besides, did you see how happy she looked? We could all use a little more of that in the world." Adrian relaxed, a small smile playing on his lips. It was a reminder that for every close-minded individual, there were others who understood and accepted. Felicity emerged from the fitting room, twirling in the polka dot dress. "Well, what's the verdict?" "You look amazing, Mom," Adrian said sincerely. "That dress was made for you." They left the store with several bags, Felicity practically glowing with happiness. As they made their way back to the car, Adrian's phone buzzed again. It was a text from his sister Emma. "Hey bro, how's Mom doing? Sorry I couldn't make it home this weekend. Give her a hug for me." Adrian smiled, quickly typing back, "Mom's great. Just finished a successful shopping trip. She misses you. We both do. FaceTime soon." As they drove home, Felicity chatted excitedly about her purchases and plans for wearing them. Adrian listened contentedly, happy to see his mother so fulfilled. Back at home, as Felicity modeled her new outfits, Adrian's thoughts drifted to the upcoming family dinner. It would be the first time Felicity would be seeing some extended family members since beginning her transition. He knew his mother was nervous, but he was determined to be there for her every step of the way. "Mom," Adrian said as Felicity twirled in a floral sundress, "you know I've got your back for the family dinner next week, right? No matter what anyone says or thinks?" Felicity's twirl slowed, and she looked at Adrian with a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. "I know, sweetie. I'm just scared. What if they don't accept me? What if they say hurtful things?" Adrian stood up and wrapped his mother in a warm hug. "Then we'll face it together. You're the bravest person I know, Mom. You're finally living as your true self, and anyone who can't see how amazing that is doesn't deserve to be in your life." Felicity hugged him back tightly, sniffling slightly. "When did you get so wise, huh?" Adrian grinned. "Must be all those life lessons from my awesome mom." As the day of the family dinner approached, Adrian could sense Felicity's growing anxiety. She spent hours trying on different outfits, second-guessing her makeup choices, and practicing her newly feminized voice. The morning of the dinner, Adrian found Felicity in the kitchen, nervously rearranging a flower arrangement for the third time. "Mom," he said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder, "everything looks perfect. You look perfect. Just breathe, okay?" Felicity turned to him, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "What if I'm making a mistake? What if this tears our family apart?" Adrian shook his head firmly. "You living as your authentic self is never a mistake. And any family worth having will understand that. Remember what your therapist said. You're not responsible for other people's reactions. You're only responsible for being true to yourself." Felicity nodded, taking a deep breath. "You're right. I know you're right. It's just hard." "I know," Adrian said softly. "But you're not alone in this. Emma and I are with you all the way. And hey, Aunt Lisa already said she's excited to meet the real you, right?" A small smile tugged at Felicity's lips. "That's true, and she did offer to punch anyone who gives me trouble." Adrian laughed. "See, you've got your very own bodyguard. Now let's finish getting ready. I'll help you with your hair if you want." As the afternoon wore on, family members began to arrive. Adrian stayed close to Felicity, offering silent support as she greeted each person. Aunt Lisa was the first to arrive, enveloping Felicity in a warm hug. "Look at you, sis. You're glowing. That dress is fabulous on you." Felicity relaxed visibly at the enthusiastic welcome. "Thanks, Lisa. I'm so glad you're here." Other family members followed, with reactions ranging from awkward politeness to genuine acceptance. Adrian watched proudly as his mother navigated each interaction with grace and authenticity. There were a few tense moments. Uncle Bob stumbled over pronouns, looking uncomfortable. Cousin Rachel seemed to be avoiding direct conversation with Felicity, but for the most part, the family rallied around her with love and support. As they all sat down to dinner, Adrian's sister, Emma, who had flown in for the occasion, stood up and clinked her glass for attention. "I'd like to propose a toast," she said, her voice ringing clear in the suddenly quiet room. "To our mom, Felicity, your courage in living your truth inspires us all. We love you, and we're so proud to be your family." Glasses raised around the table, accompanied by a chorus of "To Felicity!" Adrian squeezed his mother's hand under the table, seeing the joy and relief shining in her eyes. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Adrian overheard his Uncle Bob speaking quietly to Felicity. "I'll be honest, I don't understand all of this," Bob was saying. "But I can see how happy you are now, and that's what matters. You're still family, and I love you." Felicity hugged him tightly, tears of happiness streaming down her face. Later that night, as Adrian helped clean up, Felicity pulled him aside. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything, for standing by me, for supporting me, for loving me unconditionally. I couldn't have done this without you." Adrian hugged his mother close. "I love you, Mom. Always have, always will, no matter what." As they stood there in the quiet kitchen, Adrian felt a profound sense of gratitude. Their journey hadn't been easy, and there would undoubtedly be more challenges ahead, but they had each other, and they had a family that, despite its imperfections, was learning to embrace love in all its forms. The next morning, Adrian woke early to the smell of coffee and bacon wafting up from the kitchen. He found Felicity humming softly to herself as she flipped pancakes, looking relaxed and content in a cozy robe and slippers. "Morning, Mom," Adrian said, stifling a yawn. "You're up early." Felicity turned, beaming at her son. "Good morning, sweetie. I just woke up feeling so light, like a weight I've been carrying for years has finally been lifted. I wanted to make a special breakfast to celebrate." Adrian smiled, pouring himself a cup of coffee. "Last night went better than you expected, huh?" Felicity nodded, her eyes misting slightly. "It did. I was so scared, Adrian, but feeling the love and acceptance from most of our family, it means more than I can say." As they sat down to enjoy the breakfast feast, Emma joined them, her hair tousled from sleep. Pancakes. What's the occasion?" "Life," Felicity said simply, squeezing Emma's hand, "and having two amazing children who make every day brighter." The three of them spent the morning talking and laughing, sharing memories and making plans for the future. Adrian couldn't help but marvel at how much more open and engaged his mother had become since beginning her transition. It was as if the real Felicity had been hidden away for years and was now finally free to shine. As Emma cleared the dishes, Adrian's phone buzzed with a text from Nora. "How did everything go last night? Want to grab coffee, and you can tell me all about it?" Adrian looked up at his mom and sister, feeling a surge of love for his family. "Hey, would it be okay if Nora joined us for a bit? She wants to hear about last night." Felicity's face lit up. "Of course, I'd love to see her. Why don't you invite her over? We can all relax in the backyard. It's such a beautiful day." An hour later, they were all settled in the backyard. Felicity and Emma were engaged in an intense game of chess, while Adrian and Nora cuddled on the porch swing, talking quietly. "I'm so proud of you," Nora said, intertwining her fingers with Adrian's. "The way you've supported your mom through all of this, it's really amazing." Adrian shrugged, a bit embarrassed by the praise. "I'm just doing what any kid would do for their parent. Mom's the brave one." Nora shook her head, smiling. "Not everyone would be so accepting and supportive. You're a good person, Adrian. It's one of the reasons I love you." As Adrian leaned in to kiss Nora, he heard a triumphant shout from the chess table. "Checkmate!" Felicity crowed, doing a little victory dance in her seat. "Oh, the student has become the master," Emma groaned good-naturedly. "I demand a rematch. You must have cheated." Watching his mother and sister playfully argue over the chessboard, with Nora warm and loving by his side, Adrian felt a deep sense of contentment. Their family had been through a lot, but they had come out stronger on the other side. The peaceful moment was interrupted by the ringing of Felicity's phone. She answered it, her expression growing serious as she listened to the person on the other end. "I understand," she said finally. "Thank you for letting me know. I'll be there as soon as I can." As she hung up, Adrian noticed the worry lines creasing her forehead. "Everything okay, Mom?" Felicity sighed, running a hand through her hair. "That was the hospital. Your grandmother had a fall. They say she's stable, but..." Adrian was on his feet immediately. "I'll drive you. Emma, can you pack a bag for Mom? We might need to stay overnight." As they hurried to get ready, Adrian couldn't help but wonder how his grandmother would react to seeing Felicity for the first time since her transition. His grandmother had always been loving, but she was also quite traditional in her views. The drive to the hospital was tense, with Felicity fidgeting nervously in the passenger seat. Adrian reached over to squeeze her hand reassuringly. "It's going to be okay, Mom. Grandma loves you. That's not going to change just because you're being true to yourself." Felicity nodded, but Adrian could see the doubt in her eyes. As they pulled into the hospital parking lot, she took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Well," she said with a wan smile, "I guess it's time to face the music." They made their way to the geriatric ward, where they found Grandma Eleanor propped up in bed, looking frail but alert. Her eyes widened as she took in Felicity's appearance. "Fred," she said uncertainly, "is that you?" Felicity moved to her mother's bedside, taking her hand gently. "It's me, Mom. But I go by Felicity now. I'm transgender. I'm a woman." Eleanor was quiet for a long moment, her gaze moving between Felicity and Adrian. Finally, she spoke, her voice quavering slightly. "I always knew there was something different about you," she said softly, "even when you were a little boy." "Girl," she corrected herself. "You never seemed comfortable in your own skin. Is this why?" Felicity nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Yes, Mom, I've felt this way my whole life. I couldn't hide it anymore. I hope you can understand. I hope you can still love me." Eleanor reached up with a trembling hand to cup Felicity's cheek. "Oh, my dear child, of course I love you. You're my baby no matter what. I may not understand everything about this, but I understand that you're happier now, and that's all I've ever wanted for you." Felicity broke down then, sobbing with relief as she hugged her mother carefully. Adrian felt his own eyes welling up as he watched the scene unfold. As the emotional moment passed, Eleanor turned her attention to Adrian. "And you, young man, come here and give your old grandma a hug. I hear you've been a rock for your mother through all of this." Adrian embraced his grandmother, feeling the fragility of her small frame. "I love Mom no matter what," he said simply. "We're family." Eleanor patted his cheek affectionately. "You're a good boy, Adrian. Now," she said, a mischievous twinkle in her eye. "Felicity, dear, you simply must tell me where you got that lovely blouse. The color is perfect for you." As Felicity launched into an animated description of her latest shopping trip, Adrian settled into a chair by the window, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. Their family's journey had not been easy, and there would undoubtedly be more challenges ahead. But in this moment, watching his mother and grandmother bond over fashion choices, he knew that love truly could conquer all. The conversation flowed easily, with Eleanor asking thoughtful questions about Felicity's transition, and Adrian chiming in with supportive anecdotes. As the afternoon wore on, Adrian could see his mother relaxing more and more, her smile growing wider and more genuine. A nurse came in to check Eleanor's vitals, smiling warmly at the family. "It's wonderful to see such a loving family," she remarked, as she adjusted the IV drip. "Mrs. Patterson, you're doing well. If everything stays stable overnight, we should be able to discharge you tomorrow." After the nurse left, Eleanor turned to Felicity with a determined look. Now, dear, I want you to go home and get some rest. You and Adrian have been here all day. I'll be fine on my own for the night. Felicity hesitated. Are you sure, Mom? We don't mind staying. Eleanor waved her hand dismissively. Nonsense. I'm old, not helpless. Besides, these nice nurses will take good care of me. You go home and come back in the morning to take me home. After some more gentle arguing, Felicity finally agreed. As they said their goodbyes, Eleanor pulled Adrian close. Thank you, she whispered in his ear, for loving your mother so unconditionally. You're a good man, Adrian? Adrian felt a lump form in his throat as he hugged his grandmother carefully. I learned from the best, he said softly. As they drove home in the gathering twilight, Felicity was quiet, lost in thought. Adrian glanced over at her, noting the small smile playing on her lips. Penny for your thoughts, Mom? Felicity turned to him, her eyes shining. I was just thinking, for so long I was afraid of losing my family, afraid of being rejected. But today, for Adrian, I've never felt so loved and accepted in my entire life. Adrian reached over to squeeze her hand. That's because you are loved, Mom, unconditionally. When they arrived home, they found Emma and Nora in the kitchen, surrounded by the mouth-watering aroma of homemade lasagna. We thought you might be hungry after your long day, Nora explained, giving Adrian a quick kiss. As they settled around the table, sharing the events of the day, Adrian felt a warmth spread through his chest. This was what family was all about, supporting each other through the tough times, celebrating the good times, and always, always leading with love. Later that night, as Adrian was getting ready for bed, there was a soft knock at his door. Felicity poked her head in, looking a bit sheepish. Can I talk to you for a minute, sweetie? Adrian nodded, patting the spot next to him on the bed. Felicity sat down, fidgeting with the hem of her nightgown. I just wanted to say, thank you, not just for today, but for everything, for standing by me, for helping me with my transition, for being my rock. I know it hasn't been easy for you, having your father suddenly become your mother, but you've never wavered in your support. I want you to know how much that means to me. Adrian felt his throat tighten with emotion. Mom, you don't have to thank me. You're my parent. I love you. The package might have changed a bit, but the person inside, the one who raised me, who loved me unconditionally, that hasn't changed at all. As they continued their conversation, Adrian decided to broach a topic that had been on his mind for a while. Mom, can we talk about something? Thanks for watching. The rest won't be viewable on YouTube, so check out Patreon if you want more. I hope you have a wonderful day, my cutie.